How much Bitcoin should a beginner actually buy? If you're just starting your Bitcoin journey, you've probably seen people online saying things like, buy as much as you can. Put all your savings into Bitcoin. Or even, if you don't own at least one Bitcoin, you're already too late. But here's the truth. There is no perfect amount of Bitcoin to buy. The right amount depends on your income, your financial situation, your goals, and your tolerance for risk. In this video, I'll show you a simple framework beginners can use to decide how much Bitcoin to buy without gambling, stressing out, or risking money they can't afford to lose. Let's get into it. 1. The biggest myth about Bitcoin. One of the biggest misconceptions among beginners is that they need to buy a whole Bitcoin. A lot of people see Bitcoin trading at tens of thousands of dollars and think, but Bitcoin is divisible into 100 million units, called Satoshis or SATs. That means you can buy $10 worth, $50 worth, even $1 worth. You don't need to own an entire Bitcoin to benefit if the price rises over time. Think of it like buying shares in a company. You don't need to buy every share. You simply buy the amount that fits your budget. The goal isn't to own one Bitcoin. The goal is to build exposure to an asset you believe could appreciate over the long term. And that's an important distinction. 2. Start with your financial foundation. Before deciding how much Bitcoin to buy, ask yourself a more important question. How strong is my financial foundation? If you have high-interest debt, no emergency fund, or you're struggling to pay bills, Bitcoin should not be your priority. Bitcoin is still a volatile asset. Its price can drop 20%, 30%, or even 50% over relatively short periods. That's normal. So, the money you invest in Bitcoin should be money you won't need next month. Or even next year. A good rule is, never invest money you'll need for essential expenses. Before investing heavily, many financial planners recommend having an emergency fund, stable income, a plan for managing debt, and a long-term investment mindset. Bitcoin should be part of your financial plan, not your entire financial plan. 3. The beginner allocation framework. So, how much Bitcoin should a beginner buy? A simple approach is to think in percentages instead of dollar amounts. For many beginners, allocating between 1% and 5% of their investable assets to Bitcoin can be a reasonable starting point. Let's look at some examples. If you have $5,000 invested across savings and investments, a 2% allocation would be about $100. If you have $20,000 invested, a 5% allocation would be about $1,000. The exact number isn't important. What's important is that the amount is meaningful enough to participate in Bitcoin's potential upside, while small enough that you can sleep at night if the market drops. As your knowledge and confidence grow, you can reassess your allocation. Many experienced investors gradually increase their Bitcoin exposure over time rather than making a huge purchase on day one. Starting small is not a weakness. It's often the smartest move. 4. Why dollar cost averaging works for beginners. Another mistake beginners make is trying to buy at the perfect price. They spend weeks waiting for a dip. Then, Bitcoin goes up. They panic. Then, they buy. Then it drops. Instead of trying to predict short-term price movements, many investors use a strategy called dollar cost averaging, or DCA. DCA simply means investing a fixed amount on a regular schedule. For example, $25 every week, $50 every 2 weeks, or $100 every month. When prices are high, you buy less Bitcoin. When prices are lower, you buy more. Over time, this can reduce the emotional stress of investing. The biggest advantage isn't necessarily better returns. It's consistency. Because investing success often comes from staying in the market, rather than trying to perfectly time the market. For beginners, DCA is often one of the simplest and least stressful ways to build a Bitcoin position. 5. Don't let social media decide for you. One of the fastest ways to make bad investment decisions is comparing yourself to people online. You'll see screenshots of massive Bitcoin holdings, stories of people who bought years ago, predictions that Bitcoin will reach unbelievable prices. Maybe some of those predictions will come true. Maybe they won't. But your investment strategy should be based on your circumstances, not someone else's. The amount that's right for a millionaire isn't necessarily right for someone building their first emergency fund. Focus on creating a plan you can stick with for years. Because long-term consistency usually beats short-term excitement. So, how much Bitcoin should a beginner buy? Here's the simple answer. Buy an amount that won't damage your finances if Bitcoin falls sharply, but is large enough that you'll care about learning and staying invested. For many beginners, that means starting small. Maybe it's $20. Maybe it's $100. Maybe it's a small percentage of your investment portfolio. What's far more important than the amount is developing good habits. Invest regularly. Think long-term. Manage risk. And continue learning. Because successful Bitcoin investing isn't about making one perfect purchase. It's about making smart decisions consistently over time. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button, subscribe for more beginner-friendly investing content, and let me know in the comments, what's the biggest question you still have about Bitcoin? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.